Success Story, an on-the-spot live telecast from selected locations in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, is brought to you as a public service each week by Richfield, makers of Rich Lube 1030 motor oil, Richfield gasolines, and a complete line of years ahead Richfield petroleum products. This evening, our Success Story cameras and crew are in the Queen City of the Santa Clara Valley. We're in the huge plant of the Mayfair Packing Company in San Jose, where the dried fruits of California that are known all over the world are processed, packaged, and packed for shipping. When the Mission Fathers planted the first fruit trees in this beautiful valley, they little realized the vast industry they were founding. For today, the Santa Clara Valley is the center of the dried fruit industry. But it is not this industry alone that makes San Jose and its environs important. For today, the valley is rapidly becoming one of the great industrial centers of California. When the early settlers first came to the Santa Clara Valley after their trek to California for gold, very few of them realized that the gold they would eventually find would grow on trees, prunes and golden apricots. Nor did they dream that this valley, in a little over 100 years, would have a population of almost 500,000 people. In the spring, the valley is a land of blossoms, prunes, peaches, pears, apricots, all the trees filling the air with fragrance and beauty unequaled anywhere else in the world. In the summer, the fruit matures and the bulk of it goes to fruit packing companies to be transformed into dried fruits, into baby food, into fruit juices, and to travel from California almost to the ends of the earth. Our story tonight is not only a great industrial success story, but a human story that has created a business that means jobs, income, homes for many people, far removed from the blossoming trees in Santa Clara County. Of course, our story starts in the orchard. Prunes, for example, had their origin in Western Asia. The French prune, a popular variety, was brought to California in 1885. Prune trees will produce an average yield of from 150 to 300 pounds of fruit each year, but trees have been known to bear 1,100 pounds in a single season. For many years, prunes, apricots, pears, and other types of fruit were spread out to dry on large trays. Sun drying was the method originally used. But today, the greater percentage of fruit is scientifically dried by dehydration, with the temperature and humidity artificially controlled. Prunes are dried for storage, and from 18 to 24 hours, about 2.5 pounds of fresh fruit dries out to become 1 pound of dried prunes. And now, here is our master of ceremonies, Bob Day, with James Melehan, in the plant as we watch the first step in the packing of dried prunes.
Jim, tell me this. Is it true that no matter how young a prune may be, it's always full of wrinkles?
Well, that's very true, Bob. But the fact remains that within those wrinkles, beneath the wrinkles, you will find a product that is wholesome, delicious, good eating, a product that will make you feel like you're on top of the world.
Now, the prunes, as we see them being dumped here into the hopper, is this the way you receive them from the grower?
No, Bob. The prunes, when they're received from the grower, will contain various sizes. They could range from 15 prunes to the pound to, say, 136 or more prunes to the pound. Therefore, it's necessary for us to grade the prunes to enable the processor man to select the proper size and grade to make the end product. Now, this particular order, for example, the prunes will count from anywhere from 90 to 100 to the pound. They'll average 95 to 98 per pound. And it's necessary for the processor man to select the proper fruit.
All right, now, as they disappear down through this hopper, Jim, what happens to them?
With the aid of the water and gravity, the gravity flow, the prunes are sent down into a pumping tank, which in turn will pump the prunes 30-some-odd feet to a high-pressure rotary dumper.
They go up this shiny pipe here?
Yes, that's right, about 400 gallons per minute she's pumping.
And after they get up on top, what happens to them?
They will slide down into the processor. Now, the processor is a large piece of equipment you see. The prunes will fall into the stainless steel buckets, which in turn travel at the rate of between 9 to 12 minutes through boiling water. Now, the time determines the desired texture. Some packs require a smoother texture than others.
And now still, on the elevated area, the fruit undergoes additional processing, and because it's a very important part of the prune process, we'd like to see that too. The ladies who are picking these prunes over on this moving belt, what are they looking for, Jim?
They're looking for imperfect prunes. They will pick the imperfect prunes out, and because of that, we maintain the high quality of product that we have here at Mayfair.
So every Mayfair prune has been hand-examined and hand-picked, actually.
Absolutely correct.
Now, following them from the end of this sorting and picking table, what happens to them next as they disappear into their hopper?
From the hopper, they fall down into what we call a buck scale. At the present time, we're running an export order, which calls for 12.5 kilos. It can be adjusted for 30 pounds, 25 pounds, any weight desired, depending upon the order.
Well, let's backtrack just a moment and watch them setting up the cartons. That's a very important part of this line, too.
Absolutely. The cartons are receiving a broken-down condition. A pad is placed in the bottom, and what we call a collar is placed in the side. This collar is a moisture barrier, which assures the customer that the fruit that they receive will be viable and just good eating.
How long will it be on the average before a package of prunes packed here could be on a retailer's shelf?
Well, sometimes the Los Angeles area will receive them overnight.
So it's fresh packed fruit if it's Mayfair.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Now let's move along to this next device that's kind of stomping down in every one of those cartons.
Yeah, that's what we call our hot press. It does nothing more than press the prunes down to conform with the size of the box.
And the gentleman here now, he's taking a little bit out of every box. What's he doing actually?
Well, that is an industry-wide inspection service that's performed by the Dried Fruit Association under a federal marketing order, which covers all the incoming fruit and all the outgoing fruit. If the fruit does not live up to the standards of the Dried Fruit Association of California, the fruit cannot be released from the plant.
Now, after all that complex automatic weighing machinery, here you've got a young lady weighing each carton by herself. Why?
Well, it's just another added factor, a safety precaution to assure our customers that we're going to deliver them a product that contains the proper weight.
All right, let's move along. We're reaching almost to the end of this line now. All that remains is to close up the cartons, isn't it, Jim?
That's right, Bob. She'll go through the gluer, then through a compression unit to where she's palletized. You notice down at the end, when the prunes are palletized, that they are stacked in what we call a pigeonhole.
With an airspace in between.
Airspace, yes. It's necessary for the prunes to cool properly. They must stay in our plant 48 hours before they can be released for the trade, either by our own trucks to the docks for export shipments, rail shipments, or van shipments.
Thank you very much, Jim. And so, ladies and gentlemen, after meticulous care has been taken in each detail of the picking, the drying, the processing, and packing, these Mayfair prunes are on their way to market.
As we start our bulk fruit packages on their way to market, let's digress for a moment. We began our story with orchards, and thinking of the importance of fruit growing makes us realize how one industry is dependent on another. Orchards must be irrigated, and that means water where you want it. When we visited the Jacuzzi Pump Company, we saw how these great pumps that can deliver up to 3,000 gallons per minute were manufactured. Whether the water comes from the deep wells or from a surface water supply, these pumps keep the flow constant. We just saw how the prunes are carried up from the floor hopper to the processor above. And again, we need pumps to exert the necessary pressure to accomplish this. The interdependence of one industry on another works together to bring not only fruit to your table, but prosperity to all America. But let's continue with our story. To send fruit to market, we need containers. So let's join Bob Day at a box-making machine here at the Mayfair plant.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to have you meet Mr. Andy Ferrucci, the vice president in charge of production here at Mayfair. And secondly, I'd like you to have you meet one of the very complex machines that here at Mayfair and at other places in American industry make it possible for us to maintain our high standard of living. Mr. Ferrucci, will you give us a little description of this machine, what it is and what it's doing?
Yes, Bob, this is a very interesting machine. If you notice from a roll of a laminated moisture-proof paper and a small piece of carton, as it goes through this operation, we finally get the result of a complete carton, as you will see as we move around on the other side.
Well, then it actually does three jobs. It makes the liner, it makes the carton, and then inserts the liner into the carton?
That is correct.
That takes a pretty ingenious machine.
It is. It certainly is.
Now, here's the flat stock that the carton actually made out of it. Now we'll get around on the other side and have a look at the two of them being put together. How fast does this operate, Mr. Ferrucci?
Oh, at the present time, I think we're doing about 72 a minute.
That's better than one a second.
That is correct. That is correct.
Well, with cartons coming off the machine that fast, you must have a whale of a lot of product to go into those cartons. Let's follow them along and see what's going to be their ultimate destiny. What will you put in these?
Wait till you see it, Bob. It's very interesting. We're in here now to an automatic machine, an automatic weigher. It's something relatively new in this industry, and we're very proud of it. As you will see, how these are weighed to the maximum weight.
And filled automatically.
That is correct, Bob.
Well, now, how's the weight achieved up there? Is it a scale?
Yes, there's a series of scales which are synchronized to give you the approximate exact weight. Now, as we move along here, we come up to this check weigher. If you notice that it ejects the overs and unders to give the consumer the exact weight in their cartons.
It's got like a little switch down there.
That's right. Now, if you notice, the overs and unders will eject on the left, and the exact weight will stay on the right.
Only over and unders are corrected then in their weight, so each one will be exactly right.
If you notice those girls there, they correct, so they'll be exactly right.
And I suppose with a product like Prunes that has a large unit size, it's very critical to get the right weight.
Yes, it's flexible, and that makes it a little bit difficult to get it right to the net weight.
Now, this looks like another press like we saw in the big line.
It is only on a smaller scale, and we press them here to give us a more accurate seal.
And once again, all that remains is to close up the carton.
That's right. Here they're going to the top sealer, which will be closed right here.
Fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Ferrucci. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move into the area of cut fruit operations here in the plant, Hartley's reference a moment ago to Allied Industries brings to mind our visit to the Hiller Helicopter Company. Now, fruit trees must be dusted, and that's as true of Mayfair orchards as any. Of course, this can be done by a low-flying airplane, but I'd like to show you how it can be done by helicopter.
Precision flying is the essence of the helicopter in crop dusting. In this illustration, the pilot approaches a grove of trees and then with exact manipulation just barely touches the highest tip of the tallest tree. See? Now to illustrate how easily and gracefully the ship may hover just above the ground. And for the utmost in maneuverability, to spin around in its own orbit. Or to move off sideways, something no conventional airplane could possibly duplicate. And only a rocking horse or a swing could provide a counterpart to this action. And while this is for the birds, yet only one bird on earth, the hummingbird, can manage to fly backwards. And thus another industry that benefits from this great industry, whose success story we tell tonight, the Mayfair Packing Company. And now back to the plant where we turn our cameras on the processing of cut fruit. Bob Day is with Jack Krauss, Department Superintendent, as the apricots arrive from the floor hopper.
Ladies and gentlemen, with me now is Mr. Jack Krauss. And Jack, before we talk about the machinery, let's talk about you for just a moment. I've been given to understand that you're one of the true veterans of this industry.
This makes my 50th year in the business.
Well, a half a century ought to fix you up with the answers that we need to our questions. Now, Hartley referred to this as the cut fruit area, as distinct from the prune area. Why is this fruit cut before it's processed?
Well, it's cut and dried out in the field, right on trays, you know.
Oh, I see.
Where the prunes are dehydrated.
And the prunes are processed whole.
Oh, yeah.
How does the operation here differ from the prune operation? The machinery looks a little bit the same.
Well, these cuts are washed and rewashed 3 different times.
We're going to see that as we go along, but on this first process here, it seems to move a lot faster than the prunes
Well,
do.
they get a quick dip here, about a 12-second dip here.
Is the water as hot as the prune water was?
The water runs about 125 degrees, Saul.
And now we see them come out onto a shaking table here, and into this Gorilla Gig looks like a fugitive from a fun house. What's this, Jack?
A big cylinder where they get it washed again here, through here.
This is a washing machine.
Another washing machine again.
Do you use this line for anything beside apricots, Jack?
Peaches and pears. All handled the same way.
And then up an escalator and into another hopper over here, and I can't quite see what's happening in there.
Now, that's another washing machine. They still get washed again.
Well, it would seem to me then, Jack, that the main emphasis here is on the matter of cleanliness.
That's what the whole secret is on the cutthroat. Get it clean.
And now we see them coming out on vibrating tables and being spread in these big wooden trays. Why do you spread them out like that?
Well, then from here, they go into a process room, and they stay there from 12 to 24 hours.
Thank you very much, Jack. Ladies and gentlemen, the apricots which we see here are now ready to be put in the process room where they'll remain overnight. And while I get to the area of cut fruit packaging, I'm going to turn things back to Hartley Sater. Hartley, it's all yours for a moment or two.
You are viewing Success Story, a live on-the-spot telecast from selected locations in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, brought to you each week as a public service by Richfield. Tonight's telecast is originating in the Mayfair Packing Company's plant in San Jose. Now, let us follow the packing process of the apricots, which have been held overnight in an airtight chamber to be fumigated. The trays are then brought in and emptied onto the conveyor belt. This carries the apricots to a bevy of girls who hand sort them. Any single fruit half that is not perfect in color and shape is removed. These discards are sold to stock raisers as food for their animals. And when the choice fruit has been carefully hand-picked, it moves on into a hopper and falls into the lug boxes below. They're carried to the packaging operation where Bob Day is now.
Ladies and gentlemen, with me now is Mr. John Hart, the plant superintendent here at Mayfair Packing. Mr. Hart, we're going to pick up the story of the dried apricot packing where Hartley left off, and at this point, the apricots have come down from the processing area and are being dumped on that belt there. What happens to them then?
Well, they go into the hopper, and then they're filled into the cartons by hand.
Well, now, on the prune line, we noticed they were filled automatically and also weighed automatically, unlike here.
The reason for that is because of the stickiness of the apricots. We also handle peaches, pears, and mixed fruit in the same fashion. There's a stickiness that we have to do this by hand. That's a reason for it.
The cut fruit, then, is a little more difficult to handle than the whole fruit.
That is right. However, we do have engineers that are working on a machine that we hope to do away with someday.
That brings up another point, Mr. Hart. Now, much of the machinery we've seen here has been strange to us. Is it machinery that's been designed here for its specific purpose?
We have some machinery here that we've built ourselves in our own plant, yes.
Now let's follow our boxes of dried apricots along this line here and see what happens to them next. Now, I think I recognize this gadget.
Yes, that's our press, which has a heat coil in it, something like a flat iron. And it presses the fruit down so that the top of the carton can be folded in.
And this looks like a device to close the carton.
Yes, that's right. That's where the press comes in. It pushes the fruit down so that that fold can be made properly.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you think the box-making machinery, which we saw a few moments ago, was complex, well, you see what we have to show you now. The device that you're seeing now actually makes the wrapping for these boxes of Mayfair dried apricots. Will you tell us a little bit about this machine, John?
Well, yes, the labels come in from the front. They pass over a glue roller, picks up glue, goes on into the machine, picks up the carton, goes around in the machine, and where the brushes push the end flaps in, it goes through a compression unit, and it seals up the label. From there, it goes into the carton. There's 24 in a package.
Fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Hart. Now, the colossal task of moving all the fruit packed here to the many stores throughout the world where dried fruit is sold naturally brings to mind another allied industry. Hartley will show you what I mean.
I'm sure that Bob means farm machinery. Tractors are essential to every movement of fruit crops everywhere. We saw some of this equipment in action on our visit to the Peterson Tractor and Equipment Company. Motorized equipment not only starts the finished product on its way to the consumer, but cultivates the orchards that bear it. Fields must be leveled and graded, plowed and broken up before orchards can be planted, and each year they must be cultivated. A constant flow of traffic is necessary from the orchards to the packing house and from there on to the market. At Peterbilt Motor Plant, we saw some of the great trucks in use today. Almost 50% of the fruit packed here at Mayfair goes abroad, to Europe, New Zealand, Australia, the Far East. Most of the fruit shipped out of this plant is moved by trucks to the ships, but thousands of pounds also flow by train to Midwestern centers of population in the United States. Trucks, trains, ships are an integral part of the fruit packing industry. There's another process here at the plant that we'd like to show you. So far, we've seen all the fruit packed in cartons. But here, the fruit is being selected for cellophane packaging. From the sorting table, the fruit moves to the automatic weighing machines that feed into the trans-wrap operation below. This machine, which is fully automatic, makes the cellophane bags, fills them with fruit, and seals them. The cellophane flows from rolls to the cylindrical column that forms the bags, and they're sealed at the bottom and are now ready to receive the fruit from above. Once the bag is full, the machine seals the top, cuts the bag off from the roll, and delivers it to the operators for hand weight checking. These cellophane bags that show the customer just what he's buying is one of the features that helps to make self-service stores popular all over America. We said early in the program that our success story started with orchards. But the Mayfair success story really began 25 years ago when Joseph Ferrucci started the Mayfair Packing Company. On this, their 25th anniversary, it's our pleasure to join Bob Day in Mr. Ferrucci's office.
Mr. Ferrucci, it's very interesting to us to find out that one of the oldest kinds of business here in the West is still really big business, but I guess that the product and the methods and the techniques have changed a good deal since the days of the Mission Fathers.
Well, yes, Bob, I guess you've noticed there from the beginning, the first line that you saw in operation was the bulk line. At one time, our fruit was shipped practically all in that size container, in that kind of a package. And as in the last few years, possibly the last 15 years, we've changed over to the carton and the pliofilm bag and all different weights, a pound and a half, 2 pounds, and it's easier distribution, and it gives a buyer just about the quantity that they want.
Well, who is your biggest customer?
Well, of course, our biggest customer, in our way of looking at it, is the housewife. She's the one that picks the stuff off the shelf.
Is that true in Europe, too, Mr. Ferrucci?
Yes, I found that out more so in the last few trips that I made there in the northern part of Europe, Scandinavian countries, that they're more package-minded. It's due partially to the fact that they also are putting these self-serve stores like we have here, supermarkets of that sort, and their product is available to them all the time. We ship as they demand it, and so it's always fresh and good quality.
So all over the world, they enjoy the convenience and the economy and the wholesomeness of dried fruit. Mr. Ferrucci, this being your 25th anniversary with the colorful background that the industries have, I think that it'd be interesting to hear your comments on the prospects for the future of the dried fruit industry in general and Mayfair Packing in particular.
Well, of course, we always hope that the future of the dried fruit business is going to be good. It is bright, and we are producing more each year now, and we hope that the Mayfair Packing Company will enjoy its portion of the increased business that will come along.
From what we've seen tonight, we're sure that that'll be quite true.
Well,
Thank you,
I
Mr.
hope so.
Ferrucci.
Thank you, Bob.
Let's turn now to some of the delicious dishes that you can prepare in your own kitchen from dried fruit.
Here is a luscious delicacy, a checkerboard upside-down cake. Any favorite cake recipe provides the cake. The fruit? Well, it's a combination of delicate prunes and tree-ripened apricots. Glazed, they provide not only a mouth-watering dessert, but have an eye appeal that is festive and exciting for any and all occasions. Remember that this and all the delightful menu items to come are prepared with the same dried fruits we've seen tonight. They will illustrate the versatility of these products. Now, remembering the fragrance of peaches here, this is what's available the year round if dried peaches are a standard item on the pantry shelf. A deep dish peach cobbler. The twisted latticework setting gives the peaches a beautiful contrast in coloring, while for those who prefer, a touch of lemon juice adds even more authenticity to the true fresh peach flavor of the dried fruit. And long ago, deep dish apple pie was tabbed as one of America's symbols, along with ham or bacon and eggs internationally. And yet not every housewife has known the genuine triumph that can result from baking an apple pie from dried apples. Dried apples actually impart the flavor of fresh apples at the peak of their perfection. They're a tremendous time saver, no peeling, coring, or slicing. It's as simple as opening the package of dried apples and then cooking until tender. And I speak from experience in saying they're simply out of this world in any dessert. Furthermore, when it comes to pie, dried apples add something that simply proclaims the genuine homemade flavor. On the other hand, served as a compote, a variety of choice dried fruits makes the appetizing picture we're looking at now. Peaches, pears, prunes, and apricots, and this combination comes packaged for the housewife's convenience. This is a healthful and favorite breakfast dish. Well now, here is a deliciously contrasting tempter known as a Rosy pear compote. It consists of dried pears cooked in light syrup with a few cinnamon candies added for both color and delightful flavor. In this case, stick cinnamon and lemon slices top off the dish. And wouldn't I like to top it off? Well, finally, we're looking at a festive apricot bread. The discerning cook will already have guessed that this consists of a tangy apricot filling and a light, tender yeast dough. The dough braids add the festive air, but here again is only one of the almost endless possibilities offered by dried fruits. Let's return now to Bob Day for the climax of tonight's more than interesting visit.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have seen how the dried fruit that comes to your table is actually handled and processed and made available to you. The success of this story is proof of the success that can be attained in this area, because this very company is now doing more than 40 times the business it did some 25 years ago when it first started. The success of this great company has contributed to the development of this Santa Clara Valley area and has brought good things to eat to the tables of millions all over the world. Certainly we extend our hearty congratulations and sincere wishes for continued success to the Mayfair Packing Company on this, their 25th anniversary.
Success Story, a live on-the-spot telecast from selected locations in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, is presented each week as a public service by Richfield, makers of Rich Lube 1030 motor oil, Richfield gasolines, and a complete line of years ahead Richfield petroleum products. Be sure to tune in next week's Success Story when we go aboard the fabulous new Matson liner, Mariposa. Also, be sure to watch the heartwarming television series, Mayor of the Town, starring Academy Award winner Thomas Mitchell. This wonderful half hour of family entertainment is presented over this same station each Monday evening. Remember, that's Mayor of the Town, starring Thomas Mitchell, Monday evenings. Until next Thursday's Success Story at 7, this is Hartley Sater saying good night from Richfield.